Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Paint With Me Live. My name is Brittany Lewis. I'm a professional graphic designer and illustrator, and Sundays is the day that I set aside time to work on my dream project. I'm looking around a little bit because I actually lost my glove. Hey Tia lady, so happy to see you. I have been working pretty much all day for the last couple of days on a little bit of a side mission project, and so I have actually had this glove recently and I have no idea what I did with it. But before we get into any of that, before we get into today's live stream, if you guys would do me a huge favor, if you like these kinds of videos, if you like seeing live creation videos and just kind of chit chatting with an artist and kind of going through the whole process, be sure to hit the thumbs up. I really would appreciate that. Also, if you like the art that I create, if you would like to purchase a piece for yourself, there's going to be links down in the description for how you can do that, as well as links for how you can hire me if you have a project that you think I'll be a great fit for. So I hope you guys are doing fine. So I have my stylus. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. So I am working in Clip Studio Paint today. We're going to be working on the Five of Swords from the Cosmic Abyss Tarot. This particular image is almost done. We only have a few things left to do on it. I've been kind of dragging it out a little bit because I don't have the next card completed. Excuse me. So we're gonna do the best we can what we have until I can get the next one done, which will be next week. It has to be next week because we need to continue with this series and continue with the project while I have the time to do it and the luxury of time and energy to do it. So we're going to pick back up with the Five of Swords, and then we'll go from there. But I'm working in Clip Studio Paint. So earlier, a minute ago, I talked about a glove. I am working on a Huion 24 4K tablet, and in this tablet it's pretty much like drawing on a computer monitor, right? So as I'm drawing on this computer monitor, I have to kind of swipe my hand across the screen, and one of the ways that I keep from kind of skidding across it is that I have a glove, and I have no idea where it or any of my replacement gloves are. Actually, hold on, let me see. Oop, found one. Okay. So I do have one stashed, thank goodness, because I have no idea where the other one is. But yeah, we're going to be working on the Five of Swords. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we've been working on this card for a little while now. Again, this is one of those that shouldn't take this long, but it did because I'm stalling a little bit, and I've also had quite a few other things going on. So just to kind of fill you in, this year I actually had had the opportunity to have art in a museum for the very first time in my whole artistic career. I actually, just prior to getting that opportunity, had just been thinking about being a part of an exhibition or sort of creating art for an exhibition, just as something different to do, right? I've been wanting to get back into traditional mediums and things like that. So that was just kind of floating across my mind. I have never done an exhibition at all. I've been an artist for a really, really long time. I don't generally keep art in my household in terms of like creating things and just kind of storing it. I usually do art painting wise for clients, right? So most of the things that I create go right out the door as soon as they're finished. So for instance, I had a video that posted a couple weeks ago of a Civil War soldier. That's one of the cases where someone hired me to do a portrait for them, and then as soon as it was done, as soon as the payments and all that was settled, I packed it up and shipped it out. So I don't typically keep art around my house, and I do have some pieces and things that I just had over the years. Those are usually just kind of hanging up around my house, but none of that is cohesive to the extent of like put it on an art show for. It's just different things that I've created over the years. And so I was just thinking about it, so I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and start thinking about that. By that time I had done the self-portrait with the acrylic markers. So I was like, okay, this feels good to have like that tactile feel of creating something on canvas or on like a substrate, and it felt nice. It was really nice, change of pace from staring at the screen so much. So I've been wanting to get back into that, and then the opportunity presented itself. Was able to get the art into a museum. It stayed there for almost a month. It stayed there for quite a few weeks longer than it was actually supposed to, which was so awesome. I was able to meet the owners of that particular museum and gallery, who were super sweet people, and so I hope to see them again later on in the future to do more art for them, or more art shows, I should say, for them. And so it was really nice. It was a really, really good experience. I think I was probably the youngest person there, in terms of like artist wise, but it was one of the few times that I felt like really embraced by elders, right? So it was really, really nice. So I did that. I've done workshops this year, but to go back to the traditional meaning, traditional paintings, I've actually been preparing for another painting. And this is, I think earlier this year I talked about taking you guys on a journey to creating something, and that was an image that I had in mind, but that's something that I have to kind of put to the side, because this particular one is going to be my birthday present to myself. I turned 40 this month, actually, in a couple weeks. Turned 40 this month. I have not, even though I'd done the marker self-portrait, the reference for that portrait was from 2018, so I have not done any self-portraits that represent me in the now in a while. Right? I think the last one that I did was the death card for this particular project, where I posed as Baron Sumdy. And that is a self-portrait, so that was one that I had done then, and of course this one that I did recently. But I have not done anything that I feel like wholly represents me as I enter this sort of new chapter. So we've already shot references for that, and I appreciate my husband helped me out a whole lot. He's a photographer, so he does really, really great photo work. I kind of had him, my son, help me with the creative direction. I had an idea, and this idea wasn't even going to be a self-portrait at first. This was just an idea that I had. And then I was like, you know what? I could pose for it. And I got to thinking, I was like, shoot, that'll make a real good self-portrait. So I'll be working on that and take you on the ride for that. We shot the references, so I have not filmed like that part of it. But as I sort of work my way through it, I'll kind of vlog a little bit of it and let you in on what takes place when I'm doing traditional types of work. The other things that I've been kind of working on lately is I have been getting ready to create new offerings for my business. So I'm what you would call a multidisciplinary artist. So that's why I can do the painting, but I also introduce myself as a graphic designer and illustrator, and I'll introduce myself as different types of artists depending on the room that I'm in. But graphic design and illustration is my primary medium, right? So my business has pivoted to a point where I am creating lots of book covers and interior designs and children's books, illustrations, and sort of working in that print and publishing space. But I do recognize that in times where a lot of people may not have sort of disposable income to hire for custom work, there is a space for slightly not so custom work. So I'm sort of working through and navigating what that could be like for me and my business, so I can kind of pivot and have both types of clients: the clients that are willing to or interested in the bespoke work, and then those who want that custom feel but not quite as custom as like hiring for the bigger projects. So I've been working on that. Now, as a part of that, I have we're gonna go on a field trip one of these days real soon. So I got this gimbal. I'm gonna show you. I've been waiting on this for a minute. So I got this gimbal to sort of film some things on my phone as I do photo walks, and I'll show you sort of how I practice another medium that I participate in, but I don't consider myself a professional at all in that specific space. But as I go on these photo walks, I'm going to be going for a specific purpose. One, to practice, because I just enjoy taking pictures. So to be able to practice and get better at taking really, really good pictures, right? The other thing is, because I work in the graphic design and illustration and painting and all of these other mediums, being able to shoot my own references becomes very handy, right? So I have lots of pictures that I've taken over the years, and yesterday and today, because I've been working between the last couple of days on this one particular project, what I did was I had actually picked up some, or went through some of my old film photography, and I had an image that was completely blown out. And so part of the image developed on film, and the rest had like light leaks on the film itself, and so it kind of blew out a little bit. However, I was able to take that photo and turn it into a book cover. So I'll show you guys kind of how you can use sort of side quests and side mission skills to create references for yourself that can also cross over into other modes of creativity. So that's what I've been working on. It's been a really nice, like I said, it's been a pretty good time. I ain't gonna hold you. It's been nice. It definitely has been nice getting out of the house and sort of having that change of pace and finding creativity and sort of finding these opportunities outside of what I normally do. It is pushing me to be a little bit more brave, right? And creating publicly. Now, I do have, from time to time, I will go and I will draw publicly. So like we'll go to the zoo, or I'll go to parks and things like that. We'll sit down and sketch and things like that. From time to time I'll go on photo walks, but never really to the purpose of like filming myself publicly as I'm going through these processes. So I'll take you along those journeys. So if you're interested in that, let me know. If you're not, it's gonna happen anyway. So it just is what it is. But that are some of the things that I have been sort of working on in the last few weeks. This year, I would say it's been a much more productive year for sure than in years past, and I'm super thankful for that, because it has taken me a minute, a lot of sort of learning, a lot of failures that have happened in the last couple of years, a lot of circumstances that were beyond my control. I'm taking risks on things that maybe I shouldn't have, just a lot of lifing over the last 3 years. Again, some of it just was beyond my control, but it seems to be working out a lot better now. So, and I do seem to be a lot more clear about what it is that I would like to do moving forward. So that feels good, right? That's sort of a load off of my shoulders and off of my chest to kind of know what at least one realm of possibility that I would like to sort of work in outside of the Cosmic Gateways Tarot, because this project has been going for so long and it's such a huge part of my life. So that's kind of, it's like one of those things that'll always be there, but I do have to fund this project, and I have to sort of live beyond this project and sort of, do things and exist once this project is done, and sort of allow myself to create and, keep things going and have multiple streams of income and all of that. So that is what we're doing now. I'm real excited about it. I hope that you guys are sort of taking and making time to focus on your own dreams and your own goals, and kind of prioritizing yourself and decentering things that you gave your priorities to that didn't necessarily push you forward in any meaningful way. It's time to sort of focus on you, right? Get yourself right, get your life together, get those goals and things like that complete, even if it's just a little bit at a time. So the way that I've been sort of navigating all of the things that I would like to do, right? So those are just a few of the things, is that every day I kind of set aside a goal to finish something for something, right? So I think last Sunday I mentioned getting ready to send out the emails again. So we're going to be starting the newsletters again, and sort of one of the things that I needed to do last week was to make sure that all of that was migrated to the new company and making sure all of that was set up. And so every day I kind of focus on something to finish something, so that I can get things done and get things moving the way that I would like for it to go. And the only person that is going to hold me back in this process is going to be me. So, kind of have to set aside time. So now, Cosmic Gateways Tarot. Now, we've been working on this project again since 2019. For those of you who are just joining us, I know that there were a couple of new viewers on the Bring Your Own project, so I was really happy to see you guys there. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with this project, this is one that I've been working on for a while. This is a dream project for me, right? So I think if I had to classify something that I've just wanted to do, that I just thought would be a really cool project and would really speak to the things that I would want to see, this is one of those. Right? This is the project that for me I have been wanting to do for a really long time. And for those of you who have been here for a while, you'll hear me say this time and time again, that this was a project that it took me a minute to start, right? I think what held me back at that point was fear, for sure. So being afraid that what I had been producing up until that point would sort of not blend with what I wanted to produce and see forward. And, I feel like people would judge me, and, all kinds of things that we kind of come up with as we're moving through and navigating life. But in the end, none of the things that I was afraid of would happened. Right? You know what I mean? I kind of overthought the situation significantly, to the point where it was debilitating. It took me a minute, and then I was just like, you know what, forget it, I'm just gonna do it. And we've been rocking and rolling on it ever since. Now, it has been an on again, off again process, except until 2024. We've been rolling pretty consistently since then. But before that, it was on again, off again. A lot of that dealt with was because I got other stuff to do, right? Because I would have client work, because I would have other priorities and things like that to take care of. But once I began to sort of deliberately set aside time and hold myself accountable to it, it seems to be flowing a whole lot better from there. So this is the card Five of Swords. This card is based off of the iconography of Kali. And in that image, and I'll show you in my reference panel here, In this image, we see Kali, who is standing over a couple figures, and she is just finished fighting and sort of going to war and fighting and killing off ego. She is standing, I believe it's Shiva, and I keep forgetting the fact check, but I believe it's Shiva. She's standing over Shiva, and he acts as her sort of break, right? As her break. And so as she is stepping over him, she's realizing that she's gone too far. I wanted to channel the feeling of anger in this particular illustration. I wanted it to feel very much like there was a woman at war. However, I did not want this character to seem as though she has gone too far. I did not want to channel that particular energy. So I wanted my warrior to feel fierce. I didn't want her to stick her tongue out like Kali. I wanted her to feel like a warrior who could continue to go, and then she'll probably turn around and cut down the man behind her as well. So I wanted to kind of channel that rage, right? I wanted to channel that rage for this particular card. Now, this card generally means winning at all costs, meaning that this character does not care whose feelings he hurts, right? Whose ideas he steals, whose sort of toes he steps on. The character for the Five of Swords is winning at all costs, and he takes great pride in winning. He doesn't really care about anyone's feelings or any of that. So as we're examining the source material as illustrated by Pamela Coleman Smith, this guy's got a real smug look on his face, right? We got the storm clouds, and his hair is going in the same direction as these clouds, and it feels very turbulent, and the people behind him are somewhat defeated and sad and all of that. And so I wanted to channel the same energy. However, using the Kali iconography, I wanted to also kind of tie it into the African diaspora, and so I picked the Agoji warriors of the Dahomey tribe as my face for this character, right? So these women, and as I've read and researched, were extremely fierce warriors. They didn't give two shits about anybody's feelings. They were winning at all costs, and so I felt like that would be a great backdrop for this particular illustration. They fought the French. They did participate, unfortunately, in the slave trade, so that was something that we saw in the movie Woman King. If you have not seen that, it is a great movie, so I would highly recommend it. But that is who we're sort of using as our backdrop for this particular illustration. Now, in it, the male warriors are just people I kind of made up. The woman warrior is somebody I just made up, but I did want to make sure I reached back in antiquity to make sure that she was in her proper costuming and things like that, so that she looked like she belonged to that time, while also again channeling that Kali energy, that Sekhmet energy from ancient Egypt, Lilith, all of that. I wanted to make sure that she felt very much a part of that culture, right? So after this card, we have one more of the fives. That is going to be the Five of Pentacles. I still ain't figured out or decided yet what I am going to do in terms of like the symbolism for it. I do have a development sheet, so I'll go back and kind of look at that with fresh eyes and maybe research some more if I feel like I need to. And then we'll get started with it next week. And then after that, we have the sixes. So we're pretty much going in order. This wasn't always the case, right? So as I was developing these cards, I kind of developed them just how they came up, right? Started with the Chariot. The Chariot actually turned into the High Priestess because I had gotten stuck in trying to figure out how to articulate the double exposure look in an illustration. I think I kind of got a good grasp of how to do it in like photo manipulation, but when it came to like illustrating it, I couldn't figure out how to do it. Right? So rather than let that very first card be a deterrent to move forward, I pivoted and then she became the High Priestess. And from there, I would just kind of pick cards that I felt drawn to create. And then we worked our way through the majority of the major arcana cards. So tarot is broken into two sets of cards. You have your major arcana and you have your minor arcana. Your major arcana are cards such as the High Priestess, Death, Devil, Tower, the Lovers, the Hierophant, all of those kinds of cards. These usually deal with really big archetypes, really big personalities, really big major life shifts. And so the images for those lean more so into the Afrofuturism because each of them shows a element, the alchemical symbol of whatever their corresponding element is somewhere in that image. But I wanted to do it in a very sci-fi heavy, sort of glowy way. So those are very archetypal types of images. In the minor arcanas, we're dealing with mundane situations, so everyday life. So in the minors, more so than in the majors, I have an opportunity to do a lot more visual storytelling. And so that's where we get these compositions with a warrior. And I think our last one was the 5 of Cups and the 5 of Wands, because we worked on those at the same time. And so those stories tell much more of a story than, or those images tell much more of a story than the major arcanas. But all of those are available on Instagram if you guys are joining me for the first time. So if you just kind of scroll through Instagram, and that would be B. Lewis Arts, you'll see lots and lots of images for the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And I've been super slow about posting new updates. The further I get into this project, the more sort of selective I am about putting out the images, right? I think part of that is my own sort of reservation with the use of AI. I just, and even though I know that's not something I can have any control over, but I just kind of want to protect it as long as I can. And then also, I just want people to participate in the live streams, right? So to get those updates live. And again, if you are on the mailing list and on the wait list, you'll get some of those updates coming into your email mailbox. So yeah, that's where we are. This is card number 45. The 5 of Pentacles will be card number 46, and then we'll move on to the 6s, 7s, 8s, and so on and so forth. Of the major arcana cards, I only have 4 left to do. I have the Sun, the Moon, the Star, and the Chariot. I started with the Chariot and it just didn't work out, so I gotta come up with something else for that. The others I've tried to do, right? I have a version of each of those cards somewhere, and I just wasn't happy with it, or it just didn't fit the deck very well. It was maybe a good illustration for something else. It just didn't fit this particular project, and so I kind of put those off to the wayside, and moved on to the minor arcanas. Of the minor arcanas, I have all of the pages, the knights, the queens. I have 2 through 4 completed, right? And then we're working our way through 5, and we'll just kind of stay in order for those. I find that creating in batches really does help me stay on track quite a bit. Now I have a spreadsheet behind my desk, so my camera's here, I'm sitting at my desk, and behind my desk is a spreadsheet that kind of helps me stay on track for what's been completed for this project and what I have left to do. So for it, when you're doing a tarot deck or an oracle deck, it's not just the images, right? There are lots of moving parts for a project of this size and a project of this sort of type. Now, a tarot deck is generally a group of cards, generally 78. Now, there will be decks that have more than 78. I don't think I've seen any that have less that qualify as a tarot deck. So they have at least 78 cards. There is also an extra illustration for the back. So not only are we doing 78 illustrations for the front, we're also doing a design or a illustration for the back of some kind, right? So there's 79 illustrations in all. You also usually have a guidebook. Now, I've seen decks that don't come with a guidebook, and maybe they have like an app. For instance, Labyrinthos by Tina Gong. She has a whole app dedicated to reading not only tarot but oracle. No, does she have oracle? Yeah, she does. So tarot, oracle, and Lenormand. And then she has various versions of each of those. And then so she set up this app that, teaches you to read through her decks. It's a brilliant idea, wonderful app. I've used it several times in the past, and I really like it. I like her style. I like her decks and all of that. So you have those. So anyway, when you're doing that, you have your guidebook. She used an app. Some people use QR codes, which it'll take you to like a website or something like that. This particular deck will have a guidebook. So it will have the 78 cards. It will have a guidebook. I will have to do not only the design for the guidebook, so that'll be the cover for it, the layout, writing the meetings, having those edited, and then having all of that size to print to fit within a box. I also will have to design the box, right? So the beauty of a tarot deck is that because there are so many in circulation, and this is something that's been happening for such a long time, there are companies who have boxes already ready to go, right? You just pick your style, you send them your design files, and then they put everything together and they create the decks. You buy them, they ship them to you, and then you're ready to go. What I do plan to do for this particular deck is order sample decks. That way I am making sure that there is some really great quality control. They'll do something where they will send me a video of a printed deck just to kind of show me what everything looks like. But I kind of want to be hands-on in that process because I do know that there's lots of room for error. Now, there's no guarantee that even with the sample decks, they're all going to turn out as good as the sample decks, but it is what it is. With tarot, they do usually work in a standard size. Now I believe it's 70 by 120. The only reason I say I believe is because the Cosmic Gateways Tarot is going to be slightly bigger than standard size. So in that, not only do I have to design all those things, but I have to design them for a different size than what is standard. So that comes with its own set of challenges and obstacles and things like that to deal with when it comes to manufacturers. However, the way that I design these cards is such that if I have to reduce them down to a standard size, I don't lose a whole lot of information. However, I do want to go for the bigger size just because I like it, right? And it gives me a lot more room to show details and to sort of give us some larger pieces of art to own, because ultimately this is a collection of art. We'll just be able to interpret these images as we ask questions of the cards and we get our answers from those cards. Now, this deck is also going to come with a companion, or not come with, there will also be an option to purchase a companion book. Now, in that companion book, it is going to be sort of a deep dive into each of the cards, all of my thought processes, a lot of the things that we discuss in these live streams, but it'll go even further, right? So we'll get into why I chose the Dahomey people, what the history for this card, for example, what the history of those people are and how that relates to the meaning of the Five of Swords. And so it'll be a really wonderful idea if you want to get into the lore of the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. And then beyond that, it'll be a matter of deciding how we're going to sell it. So I don't know yet if I'm just going to pre-purchase the decks and then sell them on my website directly, or if I want to do the crowdfunding and go through that process. But that is something that I have a little while to go before I have to figure it out. It's just something I've been thinking about off and on for the last 6.5 or so years since we've been working on this. So yeah, we're on our way. I'm really excited. I think once I crossed over that halfway point threshold, I started to feel a lot more confident about it, right? I think prior to getting to that point, I was probably beating myself up a little bit because it has taken me quite a bit longer than I see some of my peers take on this particular project. But I do find that comparing yourself and your process to others is a trap, right? It is not one worth falling into. And it's definitely not something worth sort of stressing over if you can't help it. I take as long as I take. Again, this car is taking a long time because I don't have the next one ready, right? So there are all kinds of reasons why people might move faster or slower. They may have someone who takes care of their other responsibilities to give them time to work on. You never know what people's circumstances are. So in that, I just have to be very kind and patient to myself, right? And continue to show up and to continue to create. Now, I will say, because it has taken quite a long time in terms of like the engagement and sort of the momentum that I had in bringing people in has slowed down. But I think that's just ebb and flow of life, right? That's going to happen. I feel like it'll pick back up, especially once we start to advertise and get back more active on social media and start to show more of the process in different avenues, right? I think it'll pick back up. Now, I will say that once I have gone out in public, recently I did a comic book convention at the local library here. There was so much excitement around these images, and it was sort of a boost, right? It was definitely a morale boost for myself. And that's not to say that I am ever sort of looking for that outside validation, but I will say it definitely gave me a creative boost, because I felt like, okay, now this is the feeling that I was getting in those earlier years. I'm just getting it now in person. And for people who are sort of looking for ways to expand and to grow and to sort of grow their audience and grow sort of their clientele, getting out in public is going to be the best move, right? Because you get a chance to sort of meet and be face to face with people who are going to buy your product. And the more comfortable they are with you, the more that you can tell your story openly, the easier it will be for them to connect to the product, right? And to be more willing to support you along your journey. So get out as best you can. if y'all can get out and do, it doesn't have to be comic book conventions. It could be, I don't know, like small markets. It could be your farmers market. It could be art shows and things like that. It could be, if you're in church and all that, you can go to church and do it. But you want to be able to get out amongst people so that they can meet you, so that they can see your art, so they can ask questions of you, so that you can connect to those people face to face. Now, in that, one of the things that I found super interesting during that time is that was the first time in a while that I've been out. I didn't do any events last year. So that was the first time I had been in an in-person event since 2024. And at that time, because it was one that I do quite often, I didn't really have the question about AI come up. But at this particular comic book convention, because there's so much of it, that was one of the things that came up a couple of times. And I will say that, as unbothered as I would like to feel about it, it definitely bothered me a little bit, because it was like, no, and I think once I sort of came out of my ego about it and just recognized that most people's idea of digital art kind of today specifically deals or draws back to artificial intelligence, it is difficult for them to fathom sometimes. Now, I ain't gonna say all the time, but sometimes it is difficult for them to fathom or understand that it's not, right? And so that was a new space to sort of navigate as I was working through that particular event. But for the most part, it was all love. It was really, really a nice time. It was really something I would definitely do again next year. I actually went through, let me see when I do that event. I think I did that event May, something like that, end of May, something like that. But I just now went through the inventory to kind of calculate what sold, and just so I can update the things in my online shop, and I did really well, right? So I'm super excited about that. So I'll do more of those, but I would encourage you to do those as well. And again, it doesn't have to be comic book conventions. It could be something like a sort of a book talk if you're into doing graphic design and illustration for books, right? It can be something specific to a specific industry if the service that you provide can help solve a problem for those people. So you kind of have to get creative, but you have to get out there. You have to get out there. It's super easy to get discouraged when you're only existing online, and it is very easy to sort of fall into the trap of narrowing what you do and how you think because of online, because of the way that people navigate the internet and speak on the internet. That's not real life, right? So the sooner that you can get out and amongst actual like real life people, the better off you'll be. So again, the exhibition was one such instance where I was able to sort of get out and amongst people in an art related space, and then again at the library convention. So it's really been nice. It's been an interesting time this year. I'm really glad for the upward momentum. I just had an instance that reminded me to continue to go, because sometimes we can get in a space where we're feeling like, okay, we're doing good, and then we get laxed. No, you'll get reminded. I got reminded that you have to kind of continue to take care of yourself and take care of your business, so that when things go haywire, you have a little bit of a backup plan to fall back on. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually just kind of using a dirt brush that I got from the illustrator Devin Kurtz, who is really, really great. I don't know if you guys have ever looked up, I don't know if they go by her, they, them, I don't know, but her, we'll assume her, right? If you look up her artwork, she has lots of like gardening brushes that are great for like leaves and foliage and things like that. But she has these really nice dirt brushes, right? And so it kind of gives you that texture of dirt, and we're gonna add that in. We're gonna assume that we're gonna make sure we match up our shadows, and for that I'm going to go to my 3D model reference. But the dirt brush makes it look like we're trying to make it look like they're actually fighting outside, right? We want to make sure that we create this atmosphere. Now in the original source material, we do see that there's water and a mountain and all of that behind our character. I'm not going to worry too much about putting that in. So the light's going this way and the shadow's going on this other side. Oh no, we got shadow on this side. Okay, we're doing it right. All right, have to kind of calculate where the light is coming in at and where the shadow should go, and I think we got it figured out. But yeah, Devin Kurtz's brushes do a great job about that, putting in these sort of elements of nature, so I don't have to manually do it, right? and then we'll go back over some of this stuff to make it make sense, and we'll blend it like so. And yeah, we may not actually be here very long. I don't have a whole lot more to do on this particular card. Now I don't know yet if I am going to keep that backmost character. We'll see how it looks once I give him some details and things like that. But for the most part, we're just going to put some indications in that our characters are on the ground, right? And we'll do that by adding these shadows beneath them, and we want to go a little bit darker than what we have to signify our dirt to begin with, so it kind of anchors them down to the ground. And then if I want to straighten any of that out, I'll just kind of go into it like this. So again, I am working in Clip Studio Paint. I am working on a Huion tablet, and this is one that I was able to get from an artist grant. So if you are thinking about upgrading and getting gear, you have an art emergency even, there are grants in place that will sort of help you through those tough times, and also help you get new equipment or new supplies if you are in need of those kinds of things. So this is one of those cases where I was able to get some help, and I'm really thankful for that. I would always encourage looking locally if you are trying to find ways in which you want to expand your practice or get better or take classes and all of that. Start locally. Start at your library if you can, because I find that the library has so many free resources available for all kinds of different things. For instance, for a while I was going to photography club, and again, I was actually going to photography club for my son. So I was going as like a support person for him, and I ended up enjoying it because I own cameras and have taken pictures for many years, and then I got back into it, right? So I was able to sort of learn and get better with the basics of photography through that very free resource. As a matter of fact, we were at the library recently this week, and we were checking out books, because I like to have him reading in the summertime, because if I don't, it's going to be real difficult for anybody to jump back into school if you have not practiced those skills at some level, when you don't have to, right? So anyways, we were at the library. He got a book, I got a book. When we were checking out, the ladies were like, hey, go look on that shelf behind you and grab you some books. I'm like, okay. Or no, she said, go see if you can find something you like. I was like, okay, are these for checkout? She was like, no, they just to take, we need to get rid of them. I was like, what? So I came home with like a stack of books. One my son put back, and I didn't know he put back, and I was really looking forward to that. So if they're still there, we'll go back and get them. But the library has all kinds of things going on, and I know if they have them here in Memphis, and there's got to be things happening within your local libraries. And if not, look into ways that you can facilitate those things at your library, because chances are, if you're something that you want to do, there's going to be other people who are going to want to participate in that as well. So you're never really alone. I always see people online, and I think this irks me a little bit when it's like, am I the only one that does X, Y, and Z? And it's like, you're the only one. Right? Like, of course you're not the only one. If you think a thought, or if you want to see a thing, there's probably going to be lots of other people, and maybe there's going to be somebody else, right, that wants to see and do and participate in the same things that you want to see and do and participate in. And sometimes you just have to kind of get that ball rolling yourself. But start with the libraries if you can. From there, start to pay attention to festivals that are happening in your area, and groups as well. I think Eventbrite is one of the places you can go to find like different events and things like that. Facebook groups for your city is going to be a great place to look for if you're looking for like creative groups and things like that. For instance, there's an illustration group that I got invited to last month, but I had something else to do, so I might go this month. I think they meet the first Tuesday of every month, so that might be something that I check out just to kind of get out. And again, just kind of getting out of the house or getting out of your normal routine and changing things up can make a huge difference, right, when it comes to expanding yourself, expanding your creativity, and sort of finding those clients if you are a service provider. So for me, going to different events where I may be the only graphic designer, right? But because graphic design touches so many things, it touches everything really. It touches so many different things. Chances are I can meet someone who could use the service that I provide. Now, I've narrowed my services down pretty significantly to publishing specifically, but I do have a skill set to do all kinds of things within graphic design. So you just never know who you'll meet. You never know who knows who and who knows you. And a lot of times that makes the difference. That makes all the difference in the world when it comes to expanding yourself creatively as well as in your business. All right, so I've come to a natural stop. This was a real quick and dirty live stream. We've only been here for about 40 minutes exactly on the dot. So if you would like to support me in any way, shape, or form, please do me the huge favor of hitting the like button. Let me know if you're watching this live or the replay, if there are certain types of videos that you would like to see. Now, I have some ideas in mind of showing you the behind the scenes, like the nitty gritty of what it is that I do as a professional artist, and some of the things that it takes to sort of create some of the projects that I work on. That's going to be coming soon. Again, I got this new gimbal, so I'm super excited to use that and to get my vlog on, right? And show you guys what that looks like on the outside. I don't know that I have an exciting enough life to show much more than, you know, the work part of it, but we'll be doing that here very soon. And if there's anything else that you guys would like to see, if you have any questions or anything like that, you can always DM me or send me an email. I would love to hear from you. Love to know how you're doing and what you're creating, or if you have any questions, just let me know. All right. So without further ado, if you have not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. But I hope that you guys have a happy, creative, and prosperous week. Peace.